981-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate. And good morning to all my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara. You are, of course, listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable, and I am here live this morning in studio at our home office here at Boston Connect Real Estate. And I am here this morning with the one and only Melissa Wallace. Good morning, Mel.
Good morning.
I'm so happy to be here with you today. I heard you had a great show on Tuesday with Kristen Howlett, who is a full-time agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate. So I talked about the wonderful town of Kingston, and I know a couple of our agents have some listings there right now. So that must have been a great show.
Yeah, we did have a great show. We had a great caller as well. Nina from Situate was talking about her sister and brother-in-law buying a house, and hopefully in the next couple of years. And who knows? Maybe we can help them.
Yeah, and I think that will be good because today we're going to be talking about the buyer's playbook and just, steps for buyers to ensure a smooth and profitable home purchase. Last week we talked about a seller's playbook, which was really good. It was nice because we reached out to our office and asked everybody for, I asked the question, like, what is your top tip for people? And I also reached out to my friends who are on Clubhouse, and they gave me a bunch of answers as well. And then this week we have the buyer's playbook. So if you missed last week's program, definitely go on to our podcast, Talk Real Estate Roundtable, and you can find last week's show. So anyways, we also have Tim in studio. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Yeah, I was listening to the weather, and he was saying, 88 and a little bit muggy and blah blah blah. Well, I was in Dallas last week, so
you want hot and muggy? That's the place to go.
Holy guacamole! Is it hot there?
And you were very fortunate to get out.
Yes, I got out like the night before. Everything went down yesterday, but I got in on Thursday night. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to talk about hot? Like I was with my daughter Mackenzie. Actually, she now took a job at University Texas Dallas. She's going to be the director of health and wellness over there.
Oh wow!
Yes,
good for her.
Yeah. So she's really excited about that new venture. 32,000 students over there at UTD. Beautiful, beautiful campus. So I was helping her move into her apartment. Mark and Mackenzie drove 1,811 miles. He took a screenshot of the odometer and sent it to me when he got there. 1,811 miles, and then it was like 97 degrees or something. And he's like, "Baby, delivered." So 4 days they did it, and I told him just take it easy. Hey, it's a marathon. It's not like a race. So they got there nice and safe. I flew in, and things are good. But one day it was 106.
I wouldn't last. I can't. I don't survive on that.
And what was interesting about it is I love the heat. The heat does not generally bother me. This is a different type of heat they got there in Texas. I got to tell you. Whoa.
Well, everything's bigger in Texas.
Hey, and you know what?
There you go.
Even Mark said we're going out to dinner one night, and he's just in the back seat, and he's just looking out the window, and he's contemplating, and he's like, you could literally live in Texas for 100 years and go out to eat every single night and still not hit every restaurant.
Really? There's that many?
I'm telling you, restaurants and stores, it's just, everything is bigger and more, and there's just a lot of stuff there. So
that's how I feel about now on the South Shore. There's so many options for restaurants, and I tend to go to the same ones over and over again because I'm like, there's just so many options. I'm just going to go with what I know.
Yeah, exactly. So that was exciting. So congratulations to Mackenzie. And I think I have my father listening this morning. So good morning, Nanu. I love you. And I will touch base with you a little later because I have today's show, and then I have an open house today at my new listing down at 42 Crabtree in Plymouth. So that is a beautiful, 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 can't stress it enough, Cape style home, $799.
Sharon, you say it's beautiful?
It is. It is.
All right.
It is.
It is
beautiful.
really
Gorgeous,
beautiful.
breathtaking.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
You know, I love houses built in the 80s for some reason. It's like when houses were built with real wood or something. Like you walk up
Yeah.
the stairs and
Yeah.
you like it's solid, you know. So, yeah, this house is gorgeous. It has a beautiful swimming pool and it has beautiful landscaping. And I've been doing this helping people buy and sell houses for probably about 22 years at this point. And I love a lot of the homes that I'm in and I'm listing and helping people buy, but there's only really been a handful of homes that I've said, I could see myself living here.
Yeah.
And this is one of those houses.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, actually.
Similar to my house in the backyard.
That's what I'm
that
saying.
same
It's
vibe,
similar.
right?
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, I think the actual house is bigger
Yep.
than yours.
this
The
is a
setup
nice
is different.
Isn't it beautiful?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And you know what? And I even said this to Mary yesterday or maybe the day before. I think it looks even better in person. Like you have to be there.
Yep.
And it's just a feeling. Like,
Yep.
you know, you always talk about a feeling when you go into the house. You can feel the house. This is what Sharon says.
Yeah.
I felt like when I was there, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like,
I'm feeling it.
I'm feeling this house.
I got a feeling. There must be a song with that in it. Come on, Tim. Tim, I thought for sure you would be on top of
was
that.
the cat
Hold on.
phone?
I got one. Hold on. It's
Yes.
coming.
Yeah, we were a little nervous too
We were a
because
little
we have
nervous.
a cat, and then I looked over, and we were going in and out of the back door with the photographer, and then I was like, "Where'd the cat be?" And we couldn't
Yeah.
find the cat, but the cat.
She was like, "Don't worry, like you know, she just hides. She doesn't like people." And we're like, "No, we're worried.
Yes,
She'll
we
come
are
out in a couple hours." I'm like, "I don't know. It's gonna come out now. We need to know where
I
it
need
is."
to know where the cat is.
So
Yeah, it's funny that a few cat stories this week. All right, so again, we will get on topic. So the topic, just so everybody knows, is the Buyer's Playbook: Steps to Ensure a Smooth and Profitable Home Purchase. Not so sure that it's profitable, but whatever that you're happy with,
you're
right?
buying a home with equity. You're getting equity.
See, I knew he would find one. What? Oh yeah, I got a feeling, right?
Can you feel it?
Yeah, can you feel it?
Can you feel it? Yeah. I
I can feel it. No, this house really does have that feeling. You have to come and see me today. I'll be there 10 to 12. Again, 42 Crabtree. Is it Lane? Drive? What is it? Whatever it is, you'll find it. It's in
Road.
Plymouth Road.
Neither.
Neither. Yes, it's a
feel it.
beautiful,
It's
beautiful
off
house.
of Long Pond Road.
Yes, right off of Long Pond Road and
So
very
easy
convenient.
to
Yeah.
easy to get to, very convenient
Yep.
to everything that you could possibly need. I mean, you're in Plymouth, America's hometown, and it's going to be a beautiful day to go and see that house and the beautiful area. I just think of like playing music, having a great time, having a barbecue,
Yeah.
having
Maybe I
people
should do
over.
that today. Should I pick up some hamburgers and hot dogs on my way?
Just have Mark start.
Well,
grilling
they
on
have
the back
they have a
deck.
kegerator,
They got a kegerator.
so I'll be handing out some draft beer, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I know.
You could have a 4th of July party there, though.
Yeah, maybe.
A few weeks later.
And what's nice too is that's I call that maybe a quieter part of Plymouth.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you're pretty close to everything too.
Yeah, I
You've
mean,
got-
you're right in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Just
You've got Plymouth North High School there. You've got the Plymouth Community Intermediate School. There's a post office not too far from you.
what more could you need?
BJ's is not too
Yeah.
far.
No. BJ's,
Yeah.
Kohl's.
Yeah.
You got some restaurants around there, chains and not chains. So you got to go.
Ice skating rink. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, great ice skating. rink.
Yeah, I've been in there many a times when Mackenzie was playing hockey. But you do make a very good point, and maybe Tim, I will hire you on the side to be like my copywriter for remarks, because as Melissa was saying, it is really about the feeling and it is about the lifestyle. And as much as people love to be downtown Plymouth, this time of year,
Oh, no.
and how disappointing for people who come all the way to see The Rock.
Well, you know what? My boyfriend has never been to Plymouth, never seen The Rock, nothing. He wants to go, and I'm like, we'll go in the fall. I'm not going. I'm not going there now.
Yeah.
We'll go in the fall.
But not around Thanksgiving because it picks up again.
I know.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, a little bit.
think it has something
It's
to do.
Thanksgiving. We got to go down to the rock.
Let's go shoot up Mayflower. Anyways, you are listening, and I see Dee is listening too. I may come and see you, but it's out of my price range. Dee, I would love to see you. Yes, it's on for $7.99. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous home. So come and see me there. So I do have some of my friends are also listening on Clubhouse this morning. I'm hoping that I sort of figured out what was going on, why they couldn't hear me before. So I'm hoping if they can give me a thumbs up or some type of signal that they can hear us fine. We're also on YouTube, so we're streaming live on YouTube. So if you
got
want
a thumbs up.
Oh, great. We have thumbs up. Thank you, Linda. So everybody can hear us fine and dandy there. You can also go onto YouTube, see us live in our studio, in our studio. I'm telling
Right
you.
here on our stage, really big shoes.
We're on our studio.
Ed Sullivan here? Jeez.
Oh, my God.
We're live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, everything. So be sure to follow Boston Connect Real Estate, Sharon Costa McNamara, and the McNamara Horton Group.
I woke up with one of those headaches this morning. That's why I'm a little.
It's all right. I'm here to pick you up.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so for my people on Clubhouse, if you guys, I see Rue and Anna are there, and if people want to come up to stage, please help me do that because I can't pay attention to that and all the other things we have going on here. The question for everybody is what is your number one tip for the buyer's playbook? And just a little recap of last week, we talked about the seller's playbook, and I would say that the number one feedback that we got overall was, for the love of Mary, price your house the right way.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Listen to your agent. Hire a professional.
No, I think that that's number one. That was mine.
Hire
It's
a
my
professional.
show. I'm gonna say mine should be number one. Is listen to the advice of your professional, the person that you hired. I think that that really should be number one.
Doesn't always work that way.
It doesn't always work that way. I know, but I guess that would be for the buyer's playbook as well. So,
Yeah, so we had a caller on Tuesday, and she was specifically talking about her sister and brother-in-law purchasing a home, looking, and that they had been looking for a little bit, and they just sort of got buyer fatigue, so they stopped looking, and she was asking for advice, and I said my advice would be to not stop looking, to continue to look. But, I think they were doing a lot of the looking on their own. So it was sort of, she said, by the time that they found things, they were gone. They were gone in a day. They were gone in 2 days. And I said, okay, hook up with a professional buyer's agent and get on their list. Get emails from MLS every single day with things that are in your price range, in what you're looking for, even like a little bit out of, maybe instead of 3 bedrooms, you're looking at 2 bedrooms too. Like there's give and take on both sides, so it's not just
I think you're a good example of this too, because during your process, which seems so long ago. When is your anniversary?
November 20th.
November 20th. Okay, so quite a little bit while. But I do remember at one point, and it was probably this time of year, where I would say you 100% had buyer fatigue. And you
Yeah.
were just like, I'm not going to bother going. There's always so many people.
Yeah.
Again, I don't understand why when an agent puts a house on the market that they put it on a Wednesday or a Tuesday and you don't allow showings until your open house. I understand we had to do that for COVID because we didn't want people going in and out of the house, but we don't anymore. So stop it.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say is just stop it.
I need to see the house.
Just let people go and see the house. I would say, especially this time of year where so many people are vacationing, going away for the weekends, especially in our area. So many people have houses down the Cape. I can see one of my friends on Clubhouse here, Diane. She's she just popped out. Just as I said her name, she popped out. Diane, she's a real estate agent. She's in the Sharon area, and I'm sure she has a lot of people as well that have houses down the Cape. So people aren't around on the weekend. So let them see the darn house during the week.
Yeah. Kristen, put it on a new listing in one of the Bridgewaters, and she put it on early on the week, and she's like, I'm not even going to schedule an open house because I know this is a fabulous, one level living home in a great neighborhood, completely updated. I'm going to let everybody have their private showings, and it'll have an accepted offer before the weekend. And she had an accepted offer by Thursday.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, we already have an offer on this one here. And the unfortunate part about it is my client was out of the house. They're they're older clients, out of the house for several showings yesterday. And there was a few showings yesterday. One of them put in an offer and gave us a deadline of 8 p.m. Well, yesterday was my first day back in the office, and I was in back-to-back appointments. From 9 a.m. was my first one, and I didn't finish up until about 7:30 last night. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, I see your offer, but I also see that you gave me an 8 p.m. deadline. I'm not going to be able to sit with just my senior clients and fully discuss this, and go over this with them.
Yeah.
Will they extend it? And I know they're trying to stop it before we have the open house, but it's just like, I can't put the brakes on right now, And I did reach out to my client because that is my responsibility, and they didn't answer. I mean, they were probably exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, it can be a lot, and just from the buyer's perspective, just thinking about that is, yes, I'm sure you want to we call it a bully offer. Mm-hmm. You want to put in an offer that is enticing enough to cancel any open houses or showings and stuff. But you know what? That strategy doesn't always work. Sometimes it does put a bad taste in everybody's mouth. I mean, it's not necessarily the best strategy in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think too, I know that the agent did discuss this with Mary, and Mary sort of handed the baton off over to me, which rightfully so. I mean, she was, like a one-arm paper hanger this past week while I was away. And, I understand that they've put in other offers. They've been in multiple offer situations, and I hate the word win. I hate that. I hate win. I need something different than that. But they didn't get their offer accepted. So I understand the strategy 100%. But I'm big on perspective. I got to tell you, I always go back to it. What is perspective? Are you on the island? Are you on the little boat? Either way, you need each other, right?
Yeah.
If you're stranded at sea or if you're stuck on an island, right? So, so hopefully, they'll be understanding and they'll extend it a little bit into today. But if not, I tried.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do.
That's all I can do. Okay. So I'm going to ask a question to my friends here on Clubhouse too. So if any of you have a top tip for a buyer's playbook, what would be your number one top tip? So if any of you who are up on stage would like to give an answer, you can unmic, and let's see if we can get you through here. No top tips. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not going through.
Yep, it's not going through. So, yep. All right, so you guys can hear us, but we can't hear you through our thing. Oh, here we go. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, now there's an echo.
Yep, I know.
Okay, so I would say my top tip obviously would be to hire a professional. I mean, I feel like that's always my top tip no matter what when it comes to real estate. Like, hire somebody who does this full time. Hire somebody who does this, that maybe even if they're new in the business or newer in the past couple of years, that they belong to a company or an organization that is fully supportive of their business. So it gives them the tools to be successful. Whether it's training or every single piece of paper that they could possibly need, any files, any forms or anything like that, just setting them up for success.
Yep.
But yeah.
And I think that the forms, that's an important piece that you're talking about. And I know that Kristen is really, so Kristen Howlett, again, she's a full-time real estate agent here at Boston Connect, and you hear her all the time here on WATD with Melissa. And she does talk about the importance of being an expert on your forms, because if you don't know the intricacies of your form, then you really are of no value to your client. But, it's interesting because when we talk about the seller's playbook, and there are a lot of sellers who are like, I'm just going to sell it on my own. And we have statistics that prove that even if you use a real estate agent after our compensation, we're still gaining you the most amount of money with the best terms and conditions, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we do for a living. I was talking to some clients last night that I have their listing, and I had to have notarize some stuff for them for our closing coming up. up, and we were talking about another home I'm going to be listing for them, and something came up, and it was sort of like on the vein of negotiation. And he said, Sharon, that's exactly why we hire you, because you know how to do that. You know how to negotiate. You know what's best for us when we tell you what our wants and needs are. So I thought that was good. So I'm just going to ask them one more time. Rue, can you on mic for a sec? Can you tell me if you can hear us better now? Anna?
Nope,
we can't
see it.
Yeah, I can see, but for some
hear an
reason or
echo.
another, we can't hear them. Yep, sorry, guys.
I also want to talk about a little bit of the common mistakes too that sort of occur maybe when a buyer is either looking to purchase or is, doesn't work with a full-time agent or, a professional in the industry. Skipping your pre-approval. So I think that along with the number one thing to do with hiring a professional is also getting pre-approved. So knowing exactly what you're going to be looking for is really important. What you can afford, what's in your budget, because there's been a lot of times where, buyers will go through and they think that they know what they can be approved for, and they're just looking, and then they fall in love. And then they start the process after the fact. That process should be done before looking for a house. And I think that Sharon would agree with me on that one. How many times have you in your business or in any time that you've been in the industry where one of the first questions you ask a buyer is, are you pre-approved?
100%. It is the most important thing. We haven't seen Jasmine in here in a while either. So I always suggest, and too, for the benefit of the agent as well, let's be honest. I know that people think that, real estate agents, maybe there's a lot of people, including our president, who think that real estate agents make too much money. Okay. So he's basically said that, right out loud. And it's unfortunate that they don't see what we do behind the scenes. They don't see the things that go into being a listing agent and a buyer's agent. But if you think you've been hearing the conversations about limited inventory and showing and seeing several houses, putting in several offers, they're not getting accepted. Well, that's all work. And real estate agents don't get compensated for that work until somebody purchases a home at the end. We've worked with people for over 2 years to find them the perfect house. A lot of time, energy, money goes into that in order to do that. And what brought me down that path?
I said you gotta get pre-approved.
Oh, to the pre-approval process. So my point of that is, again, there's so many avenues right now where people can just hop on, to different websites and they click a button. They think they're getting the listing agent, but you're not. Just so you know, you are not. You then want to just see the property and you think it's just like, hey, yeah, I'm sort of interested. Just if you're just a looky-loo, take this with, just be courteous. If you're a looky-loo, go to the open house. That's what open houses are for. Open houses are for looky-loos, right? But you don't want to take the time of a listing agent to just, I just want to see this house. Or remember, we had this conversation. What was that topic? I remember Dee was watching. We had a topic and Dee's like, and Dee actually ended up talking. She called in about it. If you're working with an agent and then the people who call the listing agent because their buyer's agent said, well, if you find a house, let me know, then I'll go. Just call the listing agent to see it the first time.
I think Dee was, that show was all about open house etiquette, and she had contributed to the conversation when, going to open houses and like getting the follow-up emails and being sort of like followed up with the agent, but like they were very clear, I don't want to work with you pretty much. I already have an agent, or, there's no need to follow up with me, blah, blah, blah. So, I think that was what
Yeah.
the show was about. But getting back to being pre-approved, it gives you a clear budget and what you can afford. So, and it also puts you in a really great position when you are going to be putting in an offer and you are talking, because if you tell the listing agent or whoever's hosting the open house, like, oh, you weren't pre-approved yet, they're going to know that as soon as your offer comes in. Like, if they just got pre-approved, they probably haven't gone through the process, making sure it might be a pre-qualification or something like that.
Yeah. So you get that pre-approval letter. And, that's the other thing, too, is you want to have that pre-approval letter because you want to be prepared even if you're just started your search, you want to be prepared if the one comes up, because you will be very surprised that sometimes the one is the first one or the second one. So you might say, oh, I'm just out there looking. But to your point, if you don't know where you are, how are you going to get to where you want to go? Right?
Another thing that I would suggest is to consider future needs as well. So, we always say, like, I'm looking for a 2-bedroom ranch, or I'm looking for this specific type of house. But if this is something that you are going to be living in long term, it's like, think about how your life might change in the next 5 to 10 years if you're planning on staying in this house. You're not just investing in your now, you're investing in your future. So, Nina, the other day on the radio show, was talking about how, right now her sister and brother-in-law can walk around and get up and down the stairs, and that's fine, but maybe in 5 to 10 years they're not going to want to. So, just things to consider when, are you buying the big 4-bedroom colonial when, all your kids are pretty much out of school, and, you're maybe at an age where you don't want to go up and down the stairs. You want a one-level living and stuff like that. So.
I had a thought, and then I got so intrigued by your conversation that I just didn't say anything. So it was something that we were talking about earlier, too, and I'm sorry that thought process just skipped over what my head was, what I was thinking.
I just think that thinking long term, if you're planning on being in the home for a few years, and I think that maybe a lot of people are considering, interest rates and how much they feel as though they need to, buy the house for, I would hope that they would be staying in the home for a few years, that, they're considering their future needs. So,
I just remembered my thought. So one of the things that you had talked about, one of the first points that you made that I think that you thought was the most important one, was that to be working with a full-time real estate agent. And I really, really do think that is very important. And one of the reasons why is, especially when there is low inventory, I was thinking as you were saying that earlier, the importance of working with a full-time real estate agent is, while you're working, so are we. Our full-time job is to help find you a home, and we're uncovering every single stone. So if there's a certain area that you want to be in, we're writing letters, we're knocking on doors, we're doing, we're trying to find that house for you. And honestly, like, I have a list of different buyers in the back of my head all the time. And when I am going on a listing appointment, I have them in mind. So yesterday, I actually did 2 CMAs in the same neighborhood. And I know that I have a client that at one point said, oh, I think that I would be interested in that area. It's a 55 plus development, that I would be interested in that area if something comes up. So I actually texted her last night and I just said, hey, I know in the past you said that you might have some interest in this development in the future, whether it's today, next year, 5 years. I just wanted to let you know I have 2 new listings coming up in that development. If you want more information on them, just feel free to get in touch with me. That's what a full-time real estate agent does for their buyer.
Yeah. I agree, 100%. Tracy Grady is watching us on
Hi, Tracy
Facebook
Grady.
too.
How are you?
Good morning, ladies. Karen Monroe is watching us too.
Hello, Karen Monroe. I didn't get back to you, Karen Monroe. I'm sorry. I had asked her last night, her and Kim, my besties from Dorchester, and I had asked them if they had any plans last night, and I was going to invite them over for dinner, but then I ended up working late anyway, so whatever.
Oh, well, there you go, Karen. There's the answer. 12 hours a little late, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But again, you're working.
Yeah.
You're working.
Yep.
And what's another tip that we could give? What are you looking through?
I didn't know if more comments came out.
Oh, no, that's all Denise.
Oh, okay. What was I going to say? Okay, some other tips. Unfortunately, again, can't get my Clubhouse friends to be able to work there. I don't know what has happened to our board where we can't hear them when they talk, but if they want to give it one more try, maybe Rue can try that one more time. What were we asking? Top tips. Oh, you know what? If you have a question for us, it doesn't have to be about this topic. It could be about any topic. 781-837-4900. We have Tim McKinney in the studio. He is our producer over there at WATD, and he will get you right over to us with any of your questions. Again, it can be about this, the buyer playbook, the seller playbook from last week, or any topic that you might want to discuss.
Yeah. Preparation, I think, is such a big part of buying a house too. So it's not just getting pre-approved, it's also understanding your financial situation. So, it's not just about buying the house, it's what happens after closing day. So you have to prepare for that as well. Coming up with sort of a budget for your monthly expenses that are going in. How are you going to save as well? Because I just had this conversation with Ethan the other day. Said, just because the glitter is all gone of buying a house, I still have to pay for it. What if something goes and I need to have that security in order to replace it or fix it. And that's everybody, that's every buyer. So, you don't want to be sort of house poor when you leave the closing table and you're like, oh yeah, I can make the payments, but what happens if, you need to replace your roof? What happens if you need to replace your septic system? What happens if your water tank goes?
Your slider.
Yeah. These things you have to budget for.
It is interesting because with you're very good about, staying, within your budget and all of that. And I know that you were probably pre-approved for more. And when you had that conversation with Jasmine, you were like, I just feel comfortable here. This is my max. This is where I feel comfortable for me. And I think that that's really smart. And one of the things when I am working with my buyer clients as well, and Mary, obviously my partner with my real estate team, is, making sure that we're helping our clients make really, really good decisions. I feel, so, there are times I've walked into people's homes. Somebody who wanted to sell their house and buy another house with me, I said, I just don't think that right now is the best time for you to do that.
Yeah.
I think you have a great rate. This house you did such a great job renovating it and everything. Why don't you just let things settle down a little bit and then reconsider, but that is our job is as a professional. It isn't that you're just calling me to say, I just want to sell my house. That isn't the only time that you should be calling me and contacting me. You should be contacting me when you're even thinking about it, because I will help you through those processes of thinking out, is this really the best thing for me to do?
Well, it is, because if a seller is in their home right now and they have a great rate, and we're saying a great rate, meaning it's lower than what the rates are now. So, if you have this great rate and moving to something even similar, a lot of the times they want to move to a house that's pretty similar, and you can do the modifications on the home that you already have, probably for less than selling your house and then buying a new one at a higher rate. And, your monthly mortgage payment is higher and things like that. Those are the conversations that you're having with your seller clients. But even if you are a seller considering, purchasing something else, you have to have those conversations in conjunction with each other. So you're talking to your loan officer, but your loan officer is also going to say, talk to an agent to see how much money you can get for your house. So in order to, if you have to sell your house in order to purchase something else, you need to know what the value of your home is.
What's interesting too is as you're talking, I'm sitting here pondering, and one of the things too, I wonder how my buyer clients feel when I am looking at a home and yeah, okay, I know you haven't bought this house yet, but I'm actually considering the resale value. And I think that that's really important because I think statistically they say that people are moving every 7 to 10 years, right? That through the National Association of Realtors. And I think, and you just said that too, like think about your long term and what you want to do. And one of the things I see in our notes here is one of the mistakes that buyers will make is that they're ignoring the neighborhood. Now, for me as a real estate agent, I can't steer you in one direction or the other. I can't recommend anything for you, okay? You have to do that research on your own. But that is something that I will say to people. I feel as if you're better off. I'll give an example. When I was helping my niece eons and eons ago buy her for one of her first houses, she was getting out of a condo, newly married, 2 little doggies, and they were buying their first home. And I remember this one house, they loved it. It was on a busy road. And she fell in love with the granite and the stainless and all these things. And I said, I think that you're looking at the shiny objects, and I think that you need to look long term because this street isn't getting any quieter.
Yeah.
It's only going to get busier as the population in this area grows. The street is also going to get busier. So my opinion, my professional opinion is you're better off finding, if this is the town that you like, let's find maybe something on a quieter street with a little more yard for the dogs, and maybe it needs a little work. But you do the work. You put a little equity into it. I blame HGTV. I really wish that my Clubhouse thing was working right now because I know that this would be a good conversation for them to talk about. HGTV has ruined the minds of millennials.
And what about that one where they would knock down somebody's house and then build the house in a week? What was it?
Oh yeah, move that bus.
Yeah, move that bus. What was that? And it had was that the one with Ty Pennington?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All those shows and then they all went to Disney, and all of a sudden I'm like, that doesn't.
Yeah,
and
no.
then who's gonna pay the bills after you leave?
No.
Then a lot of them couldn't afford the homes afterwards. But
let me tell you one quick story. I don't know if you have somebody who has a question there or not, but I remember back in the day when we had all the foreclosed homes, short sales and foreclosures, and I was working with this young girl and her mother, and I remember I would pick them up in I think they lived in Weymouth at the time, and I was showing them houses. And when you're looking at a foreclosed home, it's foreclosed. Basically, if they're not going to pay the mortgage, guess what? They're also not going to fix the water heater when it breaks, right? And it was terrible during those times. And I remember the woman specifically said to me, "This is not how this works. You are supposed to show me 3 houses, and we get to pick one."
Yeah.
I was like, where are the cameras? Because I'm either being punked or she thought that was how it really was. And that's a disservice to people on how it really is. And I think, is that the reason why buyers get buyer fatigue or fed up or frustrated with their agent because they think their agent isn't doing a good job because we had to show you 15 houses?
Yeah. And it's always like in the most random places in America that you've never heard of ever. And you're just like, wow, you could their budget is just like crazy.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there looking at the houses and you're like, oh my gosh, of course you compare them like, oh, if that house was here, what would that cost type of thing, whatever. But like, it's always in the most extremes. Everything's extreme. And talking about extreme, my mom says extreme makeover is what it was called. And then a lot of people lost their homes after due to not being able to pay the bills.
Yeah, that's a good point. What we had during that time, right before that all happened, because I've been in this a long time, I clearly remember when, people were getting loans, they were refinancing their homes, and that we called that phantom income. I wonder if there are other people out there that remember that term.
Phantom income?
Phantom income. So what they would do is they would do a cash out refi on their house because that was what the problem was with the banks. The banks were giving out money. The appraisers were all part of this whole scam that was going on.
Yeah.
So, the banker was, calling their sister-in-law who was the appraiser and saying, hey, I need this house to appraise at this amount. account, and they were all in conjunction with each other. They were all making money, and including the banks, but people were getting no doc loans. They were people who should not have been getting loans were getting loans, but they were doing cash out refis. So an example might be, all right, I paid $300,000 for my house. I have a $250,000 mortgage on it, but currently the value is suddenly so much higher, like $500,000. I'm going to take out $100,000 on my house. That's actually not a good example, but to the max, right? And then they would take that money. That was called the phantom income. They weren't doing improvements on their house. What they were doing is trips to Disney, buying RVs, buying boats, doing things like that, and just spending the money.
Yeah. Karen left 2 comments on Facebook. No worries, been traveling lots, so needed to relax at home. And then her next one is knowing cost of taxes, water bills, landscaping, cost of living in the house and town.
Yeah, Karen, give us a call, 781-837-4900. I'd love for you to talk about this because Karen and Sean, her husband, again, Karen is one of my best friends from Dorchester, and we sold her house in Dorchester. She had a 2-family there, and she bought a beautiful, beautiful home on the South Shore. And I'm just wondering, like, you're bringing this up. It's a really, really good topic. And it's funny that I can't see her comments.
That's all on, that's the Boston Connect one. I'm on yours. So.
I know. I'm surprised that it doesn't.
I don't know. It doesn't. Yeah.
So Karen, if you get a chance, call in 781-837-4900. I think that's a really good
she said,
point.
What's the number again? 781-837-4900.
Yep.
That is super important because even, I bought my house in November. The MLC took care of, a lot of things that, were prorated at that time because the water bill comes out twice a year. The trash bill gets paid twice a year. These things that, up until a little while ago, I hadn't seen a bill for, so I wasn't really aware of how much these things would cost. I actually called the trash company the other day because I really want a second barrel, and I don't have recycling. So I called and I was like, oh, by the way, so how much is another barrel? And they're like, oh yeah, we do it twice a year, and this and this. And she was actually very helpful. The woman over in Halifax, she suggested, why don't you get a second barrel in September 1st, because that's when the new bills come out and you don't have to have a prorated bill and it gets a little messy. Starting off, you'll have 2 barrels at the beginning of the billing period, and just moving forward, that's how it is. So she was like, could you wait until September 1st? I said absolutely. But do we have Karen?
Hello.
Yes, you do. Yes, Karen is here.
Hello, Karen.
Hello, Sharon.
I miss you so. So everybody, to our WATD listeners and everybody who's watching us on Facebook, hopefully you can hear Karen, but Karen is one of my best friends. I have 2, and she's one of them. And she has 2, and I'm one of hers. So so Karen and I have known each other since 6th grade, and at St. Margaret's in Dorchester, where we met. And she's a very good friend, very, very smart. She is my go-to person when I have more finance questions and HR questions, because Karen's worked for the government for how many years now?
Going on 38.
38
Wow.
years, yeah, right out of high school. Yeah. So Karen, we sold your house in Dorchester, and then you bought a new home on the South Shore, and you just made that comment. So can you just highlight that a little bit more? If, as a buyer, what could have I done better for you? Do you think that I could have done something better?
No, I was fine. Honestly, I knew what the town taxes were and stuff. But as a new buyer, when I first moved to Dorchester, I think I was shocked about how much the taxes were and how often they go up, and just little expenses that you don't expect. As a first-time home buyer, you're like, oh, I didn't put that into the equation. Although that was a very scary time, because the bank was like, oh, we'll approve you for $1 million. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go over, just say $450,000.
Yeah.
They were, trying to approve me for $1 million. And I was like, absolutely not. I don't want to be house poor.
Yeah.
I want to
That's
enjoy
how I
my
felt
life.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
And Karen, I think that, I always give the advice to all of my buyer clients to make sure that you do have home inspections, right? And you had home inspections on both of them, right? But I do recall in Dorchester that soon thereafter you realized that there was a problem with the roof, and that's not an easy fix with a roof, right?
I actually had a slate roof.
Slate roof, okay,
in
yep.
Dorchester, yeah. So, no, we knew that there was a problem, but we didn't know the extent of it, I think. Even getting an estimate quickly in the middle of winter when there was snow on the roof was a little harder to get an accurate number. But, no, we did a kickback towards the roof. So that was okay. And we didn't realize that one of the oil tanks were leaking, and we asked them to replace the oil tank, which was great. It took them forever to take the old one out, but that I wish I had held money over their head for that, because it took them like a couple months to come back and get it. But
Wow.
all in all, it was a winter. It was hard, It just, the time of year we moved, I think, made it a little bit more difficult. But no, I think you guys did a great job selling the house. I do recall I wish we had gotten a better list regarding like the fire codes. You know what I mean? The fire person shows up a week before we're supposed to sell. They walk in the front door and they're like, "Up, you failed," and they walk right out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think that guy was in a bad mood, to be quite honest,
Yeah,
because
I
it's
think so.
normally
I
like
think
that.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we got a nice check down list, and we did a little bit. I would use the word overkill, but we probably put too many in. But that was okay. We just needed to pass because we had days left before the closing.
Well, oddly, he was a
hard to get
firefighter.
them out.
The buyers of your house was a firefighter.
Yes, and I bought my current house from another firefighter.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that was very ironic. But
Well,
thankfully,
and even through
the
that
house
process.
the house we're in now, I mean, you look at it, it was a very pretty, attractive house, and you can get carried away with, the backyard and how pretty things were. But I was grateful that Sharon pushed me on making sure I got a stonemason in to look at the chimney and a retaining wall, because that probably would have cost me many more thousands of dollars that I would not have been, willing to not negotiate without if I had known about it. So that was great, and it was a danger. So the chimney, the live fireplace, would burning. If it was probably leaking in the, I would say, in the attic, and the stairs from the attic go into my son's room. So that's the first place the gases would have escaped. So, in hindsight, I'm so grateful that she pushed and pushed and pushed.
Remember, because I remember Karen at one point saying, "Sharon, you need to calm down." And I was like, "Oh no." And I did say to the agent, I was like, first of all, when I'm a buyer's agent, you're my baby cub, right? Period. Amen. That's how I am. My job is to make sure. But when it comes to hazards and safety, that is more. That is when I get into my baby cub mode. Then you topple that with my best friend and her son and husband are living in this house. I'm sorry. I was ready and prepared to tell you to walk away from that house if it wasn't going to be repaired. And I didn't care how much you loved it. Because not only were you going, and again, whether you were my best friend or not, even if you were a client that I had just met or somebody that was referred to me, I don't want to be up late at night worrying that, I see on Instagram that you are having, a fire and in your fireplace with a glass of wine, and, you post something, and all I'm thinking about is, oh my gosh, is Daniel in his bedroom, and is the carbon monoxide trickling into his bedroom right now as we speak? So, and again, and you have to be able to, as a buyer's agent, you also have to be very, it's not a fight. This is, hey, these are safety concerns. This is what I really am worried about. But Karen, one of the things that you had mentioned that I think is really great, and I probably should get into this a little bit more with my clients when they're buying a home, is yeah, this is a beautiful lawn. Are you considering how much it costs to, maintain the built-in swimming pool? How much it costs to, do the grass? That's why when you were looking at the retaining wall in the backyard in my impression for you was that I was over the top and that I was saying, well, no, like, look, this is pushing away from, it's holding the earth back now, but it's also going to fall at some point. Yeah, it's leaning. So, like, it needs to be repaired. And even though things look like they might be an easy fix, they tend to be very expensive. So.
Oh yeah, they think they quoted me $25,000 to replace that whole side.
Yeah. So I think that, getting into things like Mel mentioned, the smaller items, like the everyday things you need, like the trash and all that other stuff. But think about the lawn and keeping it green and the fertilizer and all those things. Mm-hmm. Do you think that was one of the bigger things for you to consider?
Oh, absolutely. So I knew it could cost more money in the summertime to run the pool and to do the landscaping. And I kind of had it in my head right away that I was going to hire a landscaper. So I kind of factored that in to my equation. Mm-hmm. Little things like shoveling the driveway. Wow.
Yeah.
I've always shoveled my whole life. I was like, I'm getting older.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, that first winter we were here, we got a ton of snow, and thankfully the last 2 winters haven't been that bad. But that first year was a doozy, and my husband was working
nights,
5 12-hour days, and it was crazy. So I was just always out there shoveling, and it was like trying to get somebody to do the shoveling.
Do you remember when we were kids, people would like, can I shovel out your car? Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like kids why don't kids walk up and down the street anymore and say, hey, I'll shovel your driveway for $10? They just don't do it anymore.
Well, trust me, I'd give them $50.
I know.
Even if I agreed to 10.
I know.
So the gentleman across the street saw me struggling one night, and I think I was crying, and he came over and he's like, move aside, and he plowed my whole driveway.
Yeah, well, you should just pay him to do that from now on. But Karen, I have to let you go. I only have a couple more minutes, and we want to get into our open houses. But again, to all our WAT listeners, you just heard from my best friend, Karen Monroe, and she was talking about her experience as a buyer when I was her buyer's agent. So I will talk to you later. Love you.
All right. Love you. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. So, again, that's my bestie. So, let's talk about open houses this weekend. And again, if you have any suggestions for radio shows for us, feel free to reach out to us because we'd love to do a topic that you're interested in. And as we were talking earlier, I was like, oh, that would be a good show. And now I can't remember because I didn't write it down. But you can get in touch with us. 781-826-8000 is the office phone number. Or you can send us an email to, I think we have plenty of different emails, realestate@bostonconnect.com. And you'll be able to send us a message that way. Or you can reach out to me, 781-294-4848, and you're going to let us know about the open houses this weekend.
Yeah, Michelle Fay has a new listing here in Pembroke, 25 Reservoir Road, Unit C7. That is on the market for $405, and she's doing an open house today and tomorrow from 11 to 1. You and Mary have a new listing, 42 Crabtree Road in Plymouth. That is going on the market for $799. We talked about that earlier in the show. Sharon and her husband, Mark, they're having a date day. Are doing an open house from 10 to 12 today. And then, of course, Cushing Trails and Cochise Estates every single weekend. Cushing Trails in Hanson from 10 to 12, and Cochise Estates in West Bridgewater every Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 2.
And new construction. So if you're interested in that, make sure you get a chance to get over to those two developments. And my model home should be done in another week or two. So I'm excited about that. If you have any questions for me, or if you would like to have an analysis done on your home or just starting that process, feel free to give me a call, 781-294-4848. You can also send me a text, 781-294-4848. Tim, as always, it's been a pleasure. I'll see you next week.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yep, I'll be here.
All right, thanks, Tim.
Could you be mine?